welcome back to Surroundscapes. In this episode, Reza and I are going to be talking about wall mount controllers, and we've got a new member of the family, and we'll be going into that in a couple moments. But I wanted to welcome you, and hopefully these technical sessions will assist you with some of our products. And we're actually quite excited about our new family member, the CP200, and I just wanted to begin by showing you from a product positioning standpoint how the CP200 fits in with our existing products. You may be aware of the CP100, which is a wall mount controller powered by PoE. It has fixed feature commands. It has 5 presets: volume up, down, and play, pause. And we also have the CP300, which really has our full Bluesound controller app in an Android format. And we felt there was more and more applications where someone wanted something in between. And so Reza, what kind of, have you heard of many features that people are interested in a wall mount controller that we may not be covering?
A lot of people were looking for a few things like just maybe integration with some of their other devices or hardware. Also, a thing that people look for a lot is control in terms of interface control, being able to customize that and give only what's needed to the customer. So those are kind of 2 big things that come to mind.
Yeah, and I know I've had a lot of customers with sort of a feature request, if you want, or maybe deleting some of the buttons. Some don't want their end users to be able to pause the music, don't want control on that. And on the CP100, you can't really delete that because it's sort of a fixed graphic format. So the CP200 is kind of unique really in the field because the integrators have the ability to go in and configure the UI and also the logic to deliver something that meets the requirements of the end user. So that's sort of where it's positioned in between. It's not the full app. It's not just a constrained fixed feature. It's really a blank slate where you can go in and really design and logically implement ABI control of our Bluesound players. So the main concept of the wall mount controller, the CP200, is that it's configurable by the integrator. So we're going to have some technical webinars that are really mandatory for them to learn how to design the UI and the logic control. All the logic's done basically by APIs using our BlueOS public API document that's on our web site. There's going to be active button feedback on the buttons now. So when you press preset 1, for example, you'll see it and when it's active that there's a nice color outline you can design. It's again a PoE single Ethernet connection. And it'll come with a mounting bracket, and we sort of have a display unit here where I have the CP200 on a wall mount bracket, and you can see the bracket on a typical wall configuration. We're going to also provide on our webpage the software that's the configuration tool called Easy Accomplish, and sample templates that we've come up with. All on the webpage, give you a good head start. And we expect availability of the product to be in our warehouse by the end of August. So it's things are really moving along, and you'll see more and more information on our webpage in the time to come. So talking about the wall mount controller, we have different examples. You'll see when we go through this presentation that I have a coffee shop example, and it's kind of neat for a basic coffee shop with 10 presets, volume up, down, a pause, and then the ability to have a branding logo at the bottom of the screen. Kind of neat little feature. You could also have a colored background that maybe fits in with the ambience of that coffee shop. And also the integrator has the opportunity also to slide in their little contact information if they want. So that's a very basic use of that. Also in a more advanced application, we've done a sample of the spa, for a spa. It's a multi-zone. So it starts off with a welcome screen where you can have an image as a welcome screen. You touch anywhere on the welcome screen, and then you immediately go to the control screen. And this is unique because not only do you have your 10 presets, but you also have a slider that's used to control the volume rather than volume up and down, and also an indicator of what the current volume level is. And then down farther on the screen, you have an indicator that what zone you're actively in, a pause control that's available if you so desire. And then on the left-hand side, there's buttons for going to other zones, because the CP200 has multiple page capabilities, so you can control multiple zones with the same device. So in this application, there's actually 4 zones that are available. And in the slide here, I have, you can see on the left-hand side, the 10 presets, the volume slider, the volume level, zone name, which you can customize, the pause control, the branding, and then the page navigation buttons. And then some examples of what Zone 2, Zone 3, and Zone 4 look like. And it's really neat because you can adjust the volumes for each of those zones by going to those pages and making the adjustments. So that's just another use of the same device, but it's all done through configuration. We also did another one, I call it sort of a burger quick serve, our team has called it. And I have a welcome screen, and there's also the ability to have a password control on it. So you can create a password code, you enter it in there, and from that welcome screen, then you navigate towards the control screen automatically. And again, you can see also, by the way, on the presets, you don't have to remain at preset 1, preset 2 naming convention. You can actually call them what that playlist is. You can actually substitute, and we'll show you later, images for those. And then the rest of the information is fairly similar, and you can see you can customize the branding logo at the bottom. And then after a amount of time that you can set up on this, it'll return to the welcome screen, so that this way you can kind of control at the end user level whether this device is, with the ability to make changes or not. So only the end user has the PIN code can really go in and make any changes. But it's still fairly constrained because you're not picking different music services.
And that was another big feature that sometimes asked for or requested, that control in terms of, not letting everyone necessarily having access to change stations, turn music off or whatever.
So on this slide, I'm showing on the welcome screen with the password control, the keyboard pops up once you tap the password control button and you enter the necessary PIN number, and away you go into the control screen, and then returns on a set duration, as I mentioned. Another application that our team has done is fire notification. We have a lot of users who want the speakers to be muted and maybe even display that there's a fire going on right now. And so what we can do with the CP200, along with an additional little product, an interface box, is we can receive a close contact from a fire alarm panel and actually trigger the CP200 to mute the speakers and activate a fire JPEG, for example, on your screen. And then once the contact closure has been stopped, the alarm has been stopped, then it will return back to its regular control screen and regular music programming. So lots of different ways you can utilize this device. Another thing is we have a lot of our users who really want to focus in on a single music service. Not only can our controller app funnel down into one music service, but on the CP200 you could actually configure it with the branding for that music service, like Sound Machine or custom channels, for example. And in this example, I'm showing that along with their common titles for some of their genres, and really focus in on what's being utilized there. So again, making sure you don't stray into music services that are not approved by the management. Another example we came up with is not only having images and text for the presets, but also, more importantly, having fixed volumes. So had one user where they really didn't want the end users to be able to turn the volume down to 0 or mute, and wanted to have just 4 fixed volumes. And so we designed this template here to have a low volume, mid-low, and high and max volume. And that can be settable by the integrator. You can adjust that within the logic of the configuration tool and set that, along with the branding at the bottom of the screen. So, you know, really showing that from a blank slate, you can really configure this when someone's always had a concern saying, I like your wall mount controller, but I need this one extra feature, or this feature presented a little differently. And the CP200 allows you to do that. So the next slide I have is about our Infocom product demos. We were at Infocom in June, and we did a special application utilizing the CP200 to demo some of our speakers. And Reza, you did a lot of the programming for that. Maybe you could sort of just talk to what we really did there on that interface.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I think it was Craig Cooper came, our North American sales manager, with a vision to have this interactive demo where you can just walk up and press a button and you can hear each speaker, and then also see some information about that speaker. So pre-CP200, that might not have been so easy, but the timing worked out perfect. And we were able to utilize just that to do everything. And also, each button, we set up a button corresponding with each model of speaker. So BSP 200, BCS 300, etc. And when you would push that button, it would call an API to play on that speaker and stop the others. And then it will also call an API to play a video that we just housed on a VLC player and on a PC, and we call those via API commands, each video, and it worked flawlessly, seamlessly. And it just kind of shows that this controller can transcend just, you know, the BlueOS ecosystem, and could be that middle ground between, you know, a full-out control system solution versus, you know, one of the built-for-purpose touch panels. So anything that has API commands available, this can control it. So now you can have this controlling your entire system, create macros, do, you know, it's pretty much, you know, limitless once people are able to get hold of the APIs, if they're made public by whatever manufacturer they're using.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I mean, I think when we were looking into this, and we were only initially thinking about BlueOS products and controlling that, and then realized that, hey, with this API control, we can go off into other kinds of products and control those. So
yeah, and you know, cost-wise, it was good. We wanted to see if we can do this without, you know, the use of any other hardware or purchasing another product to drive the video. And we're able to leverage something, you know, when people hear VLC player, they think, you know, old school.
The next section I'd like to talk to is really, you know, putting it all together here with a multi-zone and with presets with images. And so came up with this one, which really is a really neat showcase. So I have 10 presets, but you can see using images that some JPEG images inserted on each button, and it really helps the end user focus in on, you know, what each button represents. And when they've been selected, again, their borders will light up and showing you're active on that particular preset. Then in this case, there's volume up and down and play pause, branding in the middle, and then zone name and also multi-zone navigation, so you can go and do multiple pages. And then on the left-hand side at the bottom, a really neat little thing that you can do because of the APIs is create scenes. So you can actually group and ungroup players on the fly here by hitting those buttons and then recalling a preset. So when I go into scene 1 there, for example, I'm adding speakers to a group, to the primary speaker that this is controlling, and then scene 2, it's undoing that and going back to the way it was. So really a neat little added functionality, and as you talked about, Reza, it's sort of a byproduct of being able to essentially have macros and being able to run multiple APIs with one button push.
Yeah.
And that's something we were looking for in this, is not just another selling another touchscreen. We really wanted a solution here where you could have a button and be able to configure and program APIs against that button. So with that one button push, you could have multiple things happen. And that's really the excitement of this. That plus the ability from a designer standpoint to have this fit into maybe the color schemes of that quick serve restaurant and utilize all their colors. Or architecturally in a facility, being able to have the background colors sort of match the wall colors and things like that. So there's just all that flexibility of this device just really makes it a very exciting product.
And the practical use and we talked about this in one of the last Surroundscape episodes, for example, like the grouping, ungrouping presets on the fly there, that reminds me of room combining, so if someone has, for example, a restaurant and, they divide a dining room and want that separate music versus the rest of the restaurant, and then maybe when they open it, they want everything all in one. That's a perfect use case right there.
Right.
And prior to this, to do something like that would have been, a little
it's really easy. You're not running around moving cables,
Exactly.
changing speaker wires. You're doing this from a button push, which couldn't be easier. In the last section of this presentation, I just wanted to show an example of the design and configuration tool called Easy Accomplish, which is used to design what you've seen in some of the earlier slides here. So the UI design it can be modified from our samples quite easily using this tool. And also there's logical design that you can do, so you can take the samples and it's easy to add blocks and draw lines from block to block and do that. You learned fairly quickly, Reza, when you did the Infocom presentation.
Well, I had a good trainer, so you helped me a lot with that. And at first, when you look at it and as you're doing it, like you said, the word logic is fitting, because that's exactly what it is, a very logical design. And if you glance at it at first glance and you think, oh, that looks complicated, it actually isn't. When you follow through and see how it all routes and everything, it really makes sense, and you get the flow, and you just kind of you start thinking of new ideas and new things to do.
Yeah, really, in a lot of that logic, if you take the time to name the boxes, what they're doing, that functionality, it's great if you do have an issue after you've designed it, it's easy to go back and make changes. All in all, I sort of call the CP200 the chameleon of wall mount controllers, because really it's a blank slate. You can color it up all you want and configure it all you want, and that's really the design in a nutshell. And pretty soon, once our integrators start receiving these units, we're going to have some training webinars. I think, Reza, you and I were going to head up some of those, and sort of mandatory sessions, because you do need to understand how to do the UI design and figure out the logic design. And also going to be working with our marketing team to have some sort of UI design webinars. So I find, it's not always our specialty is the UI design. So it'd be great to have some input from our marketing team on that. So anyways, all that's coming soon. Pretty exciting. Next month in August, we'll have this all come to fruition. So we're all excited about this, and certainly if you come to CEDIA in September, you'll see the CP200 on display yet again, and we'll be having the ability at the show to turn into a lot of these samples so you can see and touch and fully understand what CP200 is all about. So thanks for joining us on this edition of Surroundscapes.